Hello, if you've got stubborn high blood pressure, despite the fact that you're taking medications and you're still having difficulty controlling your blood pressure, well, I've got a nice suggestion for you. There's a specific group of foods you should be eating. These foods are not unfamiliar to you, I should say. However, even though you're eating them, you might be making 3 essential mistakes. And I'm going to tell you about these foods, the 3 mistakes you're making, and how to fix them, more importantly. Now, that's what's coming up next, so stay tuned. I'll see you after the channel intro.
Now, for today's 2020 idea to better health, please welcome on stage Dr. Joe.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Dr. Joe of the drjoe.com. So, if you're having difficulty controlling your blood pressure despite the fact that you're taking medications, well, I got one strategy for you that you can employ today that will help you to lower your blood pressure. What's the strategy? Well, the strategy is that you need to tweak your diet just a little bit. And what's this tweak? Well, the tweak is that you need to include foods that are high in nitrates. Yes, foods that are high in nitrates. So we're going to be talking about nitrate-rich foods for high blood pressure. Now, you can get a good amount of nitrates from animal-based products as well as plant-based products. Now, before you rush off to your nearest supermarket and buy up all of these foods and start guzzling them up, well, there's one distinction that you need to be aware of, and this distinction is very, very important. So let's talk about this distinction first before we move on to the rest of the presentation, shall we?
Yes, there is a distinction between the nitrates in animal foods and the nitrates in plant foods. And if you're going to be eating foods that are high in nitrates, then it makes sense for you to be aware of this distinction, because you want to be sure that you're not doing any harm to your health by eating foods that are high in nitrates. You want to be sure that you're getting just benefits rather than any harm. So this distinction is important. So what is this distinction between the nitrates in animal foods and nitrates in plant foods? Now, what I'm about to say, as far as this distinction is concerned, has nothing to do with bashing meat eaters. I just want to say this up front, because listening to this, you might think I'm bashing meat eaters. I eat meat myself, so I am not in any way, shape, or form promoting a vegan agenda here. This is just talking about the research as far as nitrate conversion is concerned. Okay? I just want to make that clear. Now, when the nitrate in the food mixes with the saliva in the mouth and it hits the stomach, it gets converted to nitrites. Now, there are 2 potential pathways for the nitrite. One is that it is thought that the nitrite from animal sources potentially gets converted to nitrosamines. And that's because of the presence of heme and other proteins in the animal products. And that is a problem. On the other hand, the nitrates in plants, because of the presence of antioxidants like vitamin C and polyphenols, gets converted to nitric oxide. Okay, so 2 potential pathways. One gets converted to nitrosamines, and that happens with nitrates from animal products, in particular processed meat, and that is potentially carcinogenic. Whereas plant nitrates get converted to nitric oxide because of the presence of antioxidants. And so it then begs the question, which of these nitrates should you be eating, or which of these foods should you be eating? Well, it sort of makes sense that you should be eating plant-derived nitrates, okay, because of the fact that it gets converted to nitric oxide. And we need nitric oxide for a variety of reasons. Why is this nitric oxide important? Well, it is important because nitric oxide actually relaxes the blood vessel walls, and that means it reduces stiffness of the arteries, which means the blood will flow through unimpeded. Nitric oxide is also known to inhibit platelet aggregation. What does this mean? It means that it reduces the thickness of your blood, so the blood is thinner. Nitric oxide also preserves the function of the lining of the blood vessel wall, what we call the endothelium. And when this happens, by so doing, it prevents furring of the blood vessels. Nitric oxide also enhances exercise performance, which, as you can see, translates from some of those things that I've talked about earlier on. And ultimately, what we want from the nitric oxide is that it should reduce our high blood pressure. And this is what it does because of the fact that it actually relaxes the blood vessel walls, reducing the stiffness of the blood vessels. So that's what we want, because this talk is about blood pressure reduction. So what foods are high in nitrates that we should be eating? That's a very good question, because we've talked about the fact that, well, maybe we should be avoiding the nitrate-rich animal products. So we should be concentrating on nitrate-rich plant foods. And here are the foods that are high in nitrates that you should be concentrating on. Arugula is one of them, what we call wild rocket in the UK. Spinach. It's a beautiful one. I love it. Lettuce, radish, beetroot. Okay, beetroot, lovely beetroot. I know it does stain your hands, and it potentially can stain your kitchen worktop and your dishes and all that, but it's a very nice food to have as far as nitrate is concerned. Chinese cabbage, rhubarb, cilantro, Swiss chard, basil. Okay, these are some of the foods that are high in nitrate, plant foods that are high in nitrates. We don't want to be talking about, processed meat and all that, because as I discussed earlier, potentially they are carcinogenic. So we want to be concentrating on plant-based foods that are high in nitrates.
Yes, something that I need to point out is that I'm actually a patient as well as a doctor, in the sense that I actually do suffer from high blood pressure, but I try to control my blood pressure with all of these strategies that I talk about in my channel. So, talking about those foods, well, I got them in the house. Here is one. That's rocket, arugula. Okay, that's wild rocket. And then we've got spinach here. That's spinach. Okay, these are the foods that I eat. Got radish right here. Radish is there. And then we've got lettuce here. Okay, this is lettuce. And last but not the least, I got beetroot here. Beetroot. Okay, beetroot. So the idea behind this is that I actually practice what I preach. I'm not just telling you to go eat these foods when I don't eat them myself. I actually do eat these foods myself. And then you might be asking the question, well, I actually do eat some of these foods. My blood pressure is still high. It's not controlled. Why are you telling me this? Well, here's the thing. You're probably making 3 essential mistakes. And what are these essential mistakes? One of them is that you're not eating this food regularly and consistently. You have to eat these foods consistently every day. You should see them as your like a blood pressure medication, if you like. So, just like you take your blood pressure medication every day, you should eat these foods every day. That's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 is that, well, you're probably not eating enough of them. You're not eating enough of these foods. And then you might be asking, how much of it should I eat? Well, let me tell you how much of it you should eat next.
The next question is, okay, Dr. Joe, you said I should be eating plant foods that are high in nitrates. So how much dietary nitrates do I actually need to reduce my high blood pressure? Well, this has been studied on beetroot, and research has shown that, and this was a very serious research actually, it has shown that you need 8 units of beet juice, okay? And I'm not referring to the processed shop-bought beet juice. They felt that 8 units in that research, because the research was done on beet juice, 8 units of nitrates was actually the right dose. It was a sweet spot that was needed to actually reduce blood pressure satisfactorily. So the next question is, what is a unit of dietary nitrate? Well, here it is. 1 unit is actually 62 milligrams. Well, that doesn't make sense, Dr. Joe. What is 62 milligrams as far as food is concerned, as far as, beetroot is concerned, as far as spinach is concerned, as far as radish is concerned? Well, I will translate that for you here. In terms of foods, 1 serving of nitrate-rich food. So from that list that I talked about earlier on, 1 serving will give you 2 units. Okay, if you remember, we are talking about 8 units. That is the sweet spot that we need for us to reduce our blood pressure satisfactorily. So we need 8 units. So 1 serving is 2 units. What that means, it means we need 4 servings of those foods per day for us to actually satisfactorily reduce our blood pressure. And that is based on also research as well. And to make things even simpler, this research here has actually given us a table. And if you follow the table, it helps a lot. It simplifies everything. And I will hand over to Dr. Greger. He's explained it a little bit further here. So here we go, Dr. Greger.
How many actual beets or green leafy vegetables would one have to eat to reach the target of 8 units? The British Heart Foundation put together this really helpful table that takes into account both nitrate concentration and serving size. So a serving of anything in the high group is worth 2 units, a serving of medium group vegetables about a half, and low nitrate vegetables about a tenth. Now, these are really kind of pretty small servings, less than 3 ounces. Remember, we're trying to get up to 8 a day. So a typical 15-ounce can of beets would nail the 8-unit target for the day, as would a really big salad of greens. Most people only get about 1 unit a day, but even vegetarians need to double their vegetable intake, and those eating organic may have to eat even more. Organic produce may have more vitamin C, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, but tends to have fewer nitrates.
Well, I hope what Dr. Greger and I have said has actually clarified the situation for you. The essential take-home message is that you should be aiming to eat 8 units of these nitrate-rich foods per day. That's all you need, just 8 units. So that's mistake number 2 fixed. Now let's talk about mistake number 3. Mistake number 3 is that you're probably not chewing these foods long enough, and that is costing you the end product, because at the end of the day, the end product we want is nitric oxide. So the longer the food spends in your mouth, you chewing it, the saliva mixing up with the food, the more of this nitric oxide that we're going to get as an end product from the nitrate-rich foods. So chew these foods properly. By the time the food gets to the stomach, it should be in the nitrite form. That way, once it gets into the stomach, the acid in the stomach will help with the conversion of the nitrite to nitric oxide, because that's what you're aiming for. You want the nitric oxide to actually help you lower your blood pressure. So you need to chew the food properly. Chew it for longer. Okay, I know we're in a hurry these days, but it helps to actually chew your food properly. That helps a lot. So that's mistake number 3 fixed. There we go. If you like this presentation, you should give it a thumbs up. Please hit the like button right there. I've actually enjoyed making it because it's something that I do for myself, and I want you to do it as well to help you to control your blood pressure. Now, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. The subscription button is just right there. Yeah, that's the one, just right there. Hit it and subscribe. We like you to subscribe. And that way you get notification of all the future videos that I make as well. And also, you know, we maintain a relationship for both now and for the future. Now, if you think you got value from this video and you think someone else you know might actually get value from it, please share this video with them. It helps to spread the message, because high blood pressure is a serious problem, and we're doing our best to make sure that, you know, people don't suffer the consequences of high blood pressure. Now, one more thing, if you got anything to say, please say it in the comment section, just right there, okay? Yes, I've actually enjoyed it. Go ahead and eat all these nitrate-rich foods, and that way you're going to be helping your high blood pressure, bring it under control. Okay, well, I've actually enjoyed it, like I said. Please subscribe, comment, share, and like. Don't forget to like this video, okay? Until next time, well, this is Dr. Joe signing out.